And today we look back at the year that was 2008. We had an historic presidential election. Both of our U.S. senators from Connecticut took big tumbles in their popularity rankings, and gay marriage became legal in our state. We begin, though, with the election of Barack Obama as the nation's 44th president. About a year ago, prominent Connecticut Democrats began endorsing the Illinois senator, spurning Hillary Clinton, who had deep roots and connections in our state. She and her husband, of course, went to Yale Law School. Obama brought his rock star campaign to downtown Hartford on the eve of the Connecticut primary. Channel 3's Kara Sundlin was at the XL Center for this historic event.
Before Barack Obama became president-elect, he made history with a crowd of 18,000 people coming to see him at the XL Center in Hartford. A then healthy Senator Ted Kennedy and Caroline Kennedy were there to endorse him as the candidate of change.
I'm glad I decided to follow you here, Ted. I didn't realize what a magnificent crowd this would be. Thank you, Connecticut. Thank you, Hartford.
Connecticut picked Obama over Hillary Clinton in the primary, and on election night, when Democrats partied at Union Station in Hartford, Obama supporters cried as the networks named him the winner of Campaign 08.
It means everything to me. I never thought I'd live to see this day.
Kara Sundlin, Channel 3, Eyewitness News.
There was at least one prominent local Democrat who was not at the XL Center with Senator Obama and never jumped on the Obama bandwagon. Independent Democrat Senator Joe Lieberman caught the ire of the Democratic Party for not only endorsing but campaigning for Republican John McCain. Channel 3's Susan Raff looks back at Lieberman's year.
Joe Lieberman not only backed Republican presidential hopeful John McCain, but he spoke at the Republican National Convention and then did the unthinkable. He criticized Barack Obama. That was the final straw for Senate Democrats, who voted on whether to remove Lieberman from his chairmanship on Homeland Security.
It's a resolution that not only resolves the current dilemma, but it's a resolution of reconciliation and not retribution, and I appreciate it.
People in the Senate certainly will be watching him and seeing what he is going to do, as I think, people in Connecticut are going to be watching him as well.
Democratic leaders decided not to punish Lieberman, saying more often than not, he votes with them, not against them. Susan Raff, Channel 3. Eyewitness News.
Senator Chris Dodd started 2008 as a presidential candidate. He actually moved his family to Iowa, the site of the nation's first presidential test, the Iowa caucuses. He did poorly there and then dropped out. But Dodd's troubles were just beginning. The state's senior senator became the subject of a mortgage controversy, and when the economy started to slide, so did his poll ratings. And he's up for re-election next year. Once again, here's Susan Raff.
Just a few days after the new year, Dodd's campaign for president ended. With polls showing he was doing poorly, he pulled out of the race. It was shortly after returning to Connecticut to thank supporters that the senator found himself caught up in a controversy over a special mortgage deal he got. Dodd, who happens to be the chairman of the banking committee, received 2 discounted mortgages from Countrywide back in 2003. For his homes in Connecticut and Washington, D.C. The senator admitted being told he was given a VIP rate, but says he didn't think it was related to his position in the government. In a statement, Dodd has said, as a United States senator, I would never ask or expect to be treated differently than anyone else refinancing their home. Published reports say $2,700 worth of points were waived on Dodd's 2 mortgages. Back in June, Dodd said he would make his files public after a watchdog group wanted to see them. But now Dodd says he won't release them until the Senate Ethics Committee finishes its investigation. Dodd's standing is at its historic low. The latest polls show only 48% approve of the job he's doing. Susan Raff, Channel 3, Eyewitness News.
Besides the election of Barack Obama, the biggest political story in our state was, of course, the turning of our congressional delegation to a bright blue. After 21 years in office, Congressman Chris Shays of Bridgeport was defeated by a Democratic newcomer, businessman Jim Himes of Greenwich. Shays was the lone Republican representing Connecticut in Washington, and he was swept away by that Obama tide. Channel 3's Hannah Daniels has the story.
For the first time in more than 2 decades, there is a new congressman in Fairfield County. Democrat Jim Hines ousted 11-term Republican incumbent Chris Shays. It was a dead heat between both men for much of the campaign. But on November 4th, the only Republican member of the House from New England lost.
My 2-year contract has not been renewed, and no one likes, being told someone else is taking your place. So there are disappointments.
Shays represented his district for the last 21 years. The Republican labels himself as a fiscal conservative, but his voting record reveals he was a moderate, voting more often with liberals than with conservatives. With a stinging defeat for the first time since the founding of the GOP in 1854, New England will be without a Republican in the U.S. House of Representatives. Hannah Daniels, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
Hartford Mayor Eddie Perez starts 2009 under the same cloud he started 2008. A grand jury and the state's attorney is investigating allegations of corruption at City Hall. The allegations first surfaced back in 2007. Here's Channel 3's Len Bestoff.
Ever since the public learned state investigators had searched Hartford Mayor Eddie Perez's home back in the summer of 2007 for evidence of potential wrongdoing, a number of interested parties have been waiting to see what might happen to the man who has led the city the past 7 years. Everybody has had to wait a little longer for the answer, because while a grand jury investigation is secret, Eyewitness News has been able to learn the scope of the investigation appears to have broadened, with the grand jury interviewing people from North End political power broker Abe Giles to former deputy mayor and current councilwoman Veronica Airy Wilson. The panel investigating the mayor has asked and was granted a second and final extension, allowing for more time to question witnesses. That runs out, though, in April, and at some point after that, the grand jury would have to issue its conclusions. In Hartford, Len Bestoff, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.